Head of the NRA says Hillary's gun policy shows she doesn't care about women's rights. At CPAC last week, Wayne LaPierre argued that restricting gun rights, as Clinton favors, puts women at greater risk. He noted, quote, "No woman should be left to face evil with empty hands." Here's LaPierre.
All of America's women, you aren't free if you aren't free to defend yourself. If President Obama, Hillary Clinton, or anyone else denies you that right, they don't really care about you at all.
That's right. Sam, look, I think if you're a woman, if you're not holding a casserole, you should be holding a gun, right?
One of the two, always. You're not pro women if you're not pro gun. I think Robert Blake would disagree with that statement, right?
Well, he had a bit of a tussle with the law, didn't he, Robert Blake?
Didn't he shoot his wife? Is that what happened?
That might have been it. I'm not sure if he was ever convicted of that? He wasn't?
No.
Okay, he's an innocent man.
Robert Blake wasn't convicted.
He wasn't? No, yeah.
I thought he was. All right.
But what do you
Phil
think of this?
Spector. He shot Robert Blake's wife.
But Kennedy, California, women alone, living in apartment buildings and whatnot, they want to have a gun, right?
It's the most dangerous state in the country. It might not be statistically, but it sure feels that way. I mean, this election, let's be honest, it's going to boil down to single women. And they're going to be such a huge part of the vote. And if I were one of these people and I was watching any of these candidates say, you no longer have the right to defend yourself, I would absolutely question that, whether or not I own a gun. You should have the right to own a gun. I don't think every woman is morally obligated to have a firearm at all times. I don't think you necessarily need a concealed carry permit given to at your bat mitzvah, but certainly you should have that right. And any time government is forcing you to rely on them more, that erodes your freedom, and that is anti-individualist and therefore anti-woman.
That's it, Charles. Why does Wayne LaPierre have to be making the point that Republicans should be making?
I think Republicans do make it.
They do? Not as well as him.
No, I think what he did, and it's always important to do this, is to link the right to bear arms with the right to self-defense. As Kennedy says, the key here is that everybody has the right. Doesn't mean they have to exercise it. They shouldn't be subsidized in exercising it. But everybody has the right to defend themselves. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Yeah. It's a foundational principle, right back to John Locke and before. Now, if you are a woman, on average, you're weaker than a man. Not in every case, but on average. And therefore, to equalize your chances against somebody who might attack you, you need a tool to do that. Now, the tool in our society that we use is a gun. But it could be anything. It could be a knife. When you take that away from women, what you're essentially saying is you are now at the mercy of people who are stronger than you. I think that's immoral.
That's fantastic. That's what I would say. Kennedy, the statistics, they always talk about gun statistics and gun violence and whatnot, but there's no statistic for the number of things that have been prevented. Say a woman is packing, and her ex-husband, who might be violent, knows she's packing. He's not going to go busting down her door, is he?
No, absolutely not. And those are the kind of relationships where women tend to be more at risk. There was a very famous photographer who took to Twitter yesterday talking about, in the United States, 10,000 gun deaths. In Japan, only 22. You know, the statistics are like that. It's less than 100 for all these other industrialized countries. But the problem with that is, one, they always lump in suicides, which suicides are not the same as domestic violence or a gang shooting. And the other thing is,
they'd kill them. I mean, they'd presumably find a way to kill themselves anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't just need a gun. It just happens to be the easiest method for a lot of people who are unfortunately depressed and taking that avenue. But the other thing that you never hear about, and this is the thing that gun control advocates don't consider, is how many people are saved by guns in this country. How many people get to preserve their lives and their liberty because they or someone else had a firearm.
Do we know that?
Here's a stat I want to hear. How many boyfriends were just trying to make a good point and then got shot by a needy girlfriend? We never hear that statistic.
You really don't.
I know. We need to draw these up. But what are the stats for people who...
I was just going to say, in Japan, the suicide rate in Japan is twice that of the United States. It's just that they don't shoot themselves because there are very few guns. And you'll notice that the language that's used, gun deaths. Gun deaths are bad, but the real problem is deaths. What you want to do is stop deaths. Now, the fact that somebody is shot rather than stabbed is really immaterial if they die. And so, you know, what you need to focus on in this country is how many people are being murdered, not how they're being murdered. The fact is, people across the world, including in countries where they don't have many guns, are still murdered. They still kill themselves.